Hello, and welcome to the second episode of this summer's Domestic Violence Update. My name is Laurel Lynch, and I'm the Executive Director of Hope Family Services, Manatee County's domestic violence service provider. With me today is Susan Rule, our Volunteer and Donor Relations Coordinator. One of the things we talk about often at Hope is safety planning. Did you know that 95% of the people killed at the hands of their significant other, intimate partner violence that results in homicide, 95% of those people never came to a center like Hope for help? So that tells me there's good news and there's bad news. The services we provide, what we do, works. We are saving lives. But the bad news is we're not reaching that 95%. So today I'm hoping that we can reach out to people who need our help and talk about safety planning and talk about why that critical component works and why it keeps people alive, keeps them safe. So with me today, as I said, is Susan Rule. Susan, welcome.
Hi, Laurel.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for helping me demystify safety planning.
Well, this year alone, Hope has crafted nearly over 2,000 safety plans.
And these are individual plans that we sit down and do with people?
They're individual plans, and we also have telephone plans. So if you're not quite ready to come in, you can call us any time of the night or day, and we will sit with you or over the phone and go through the most important thing, is the safety plan.
That's amazing. Well, let's sort of demystify what it is. Safety planning, I mean, somebody said to me just the other day, well, you guys use that term all the time. You just talk about safety planning. Mm-hmm. I don't even know what that is. What is it? Safety planning, the way I think about it, is a dress rehearsal. Most of us don't plan for emergencies. I mean, we do, we hear hurricanes coming.
Right.
And so suddenly, and in our office,
right,
when we hear that there's a storm warning, storm watch, we have protocols that we follow. We have to batten down the hatches. We have to make sure the playground equipment is secure. We have to make sure that the little bicycles are inside. So we have protocols that we do. But the average citizen, I don't think, really plans for a personal emergency and safety. And really, wouldn't you agree? That's really all a safety plan is thinking it through,
thinking ahead,
in advance.
Right, thinking ahead, preparing for if you should have to go. It doesn't mean you have to go right at that moment, but when you do have to go, you have it all in. So
I got to go. Plan. Where am I going?
Right.
How am I going to get there?
Right.
It's an interesting thought process. I've learned that people in crisis sort of have bells and whistles going off in their head. It's really hard to focus on what's best. And what I said to a caller recently on the phone is, okay, you're an expert on your partner. You know what happens in your family when there's a fight. We're sort of the experts at helping you figure out a way to mitigate that. So if your partner does A, what's your B? If he does C, what's your D? And really, as I said in the beginning, it's like a dress rehearsal. It just gives people a way to plan ahead. Think it through while you're not in crisis. So when the crisis erupts, you've got it covered.
Right.
So let's talk about some examples. I'm trying to think of what the more common things we hear. And so if a viewer's watching and they say, oh, that's exactly what my partner says or does, or that they'll realize they're not alone. So what are some of the more common?
Well, can you give examples also of updating a safety plan when your situation changes, which it oftentimes does with moving and job changes and things like that?
Okay, so your partner's the kind of person that, and domestic violence, remember, is all about power and control. So these are just strategies batterers use and abusive people use to keep control of their family. So you and I are in a relationship and you tell me you're leaving. So I take your car keys.
Right.
Now where are you going? So what can I do if you're helping me safety plan and I say to you, Susan, he takes my purse, he takes my handbag, and in my handbag is my wallet, my car keys, my money, my credit cards, blah, 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 my lipstick, my mascara, all the things I keep in my handbag, which looks like a suitcase. How do I mitigate that? What can I do if I know he's going to take my handbag?
Well, that's part of the reason why we do safety planning, because you can have copies, you can not leave important documents in your purse. If you know that that's going to be out there, you can have those copies made, you can keep them with a friend, you can do several things to plan in order should that happen.
You know, in the olden days, I'm dating myself and my age, back before your key to your car had a computer chip in it,
right,
you could trot down to the nearest car place and get a copy of your car, your key of your, let's say that again, your key to the car. You can make a duplicate like your house key. And we used to give folks those magnetic, you know, they stick under the wheel with the fender of your car. We must have handed thousands out. You can ask Shar. Back in the day, we used to give those to clients if their partner would steal the car keys or take the car keys or take the handbag with the car keys in it. That was the MO.
Right.
We'd say, get a spare key, put it in this little doodad, put it under the wheel well or wherever you want to keep it.
right.
I didn't know until recently, having lost my car key, that with the little computer chip in it, it's a whole different ballgame $350 later. So people can't just trot down to their nearest key, you know, replacement place and do that. But there are strategies you can do. I've learned probably as much about safety planning from the advocates in our office and our clients and the frontline people. Some things that are really simple for folks to do. So he's going to take your handbag. As you said, you get copies of important documents. One woman I worked with years and years ago, she was very smart. She kept in the trunk of her car just a brown paper sack, you know, from a grocery store with a spare change of clothes,
Right.
pair of jeans, t-shirt, underwear, and in the jeans she had, back then, a $10 bill. She said, in case I needed gas. Of course, you might need a 50 to get gas today, but she had birth certificates for her children, copies of them, their school records. I mean, this woman was so organized, and all just rolled up in an old pair of jeans and t-shirt in a brown paper sack in the back of the car with the jumper cables on top of it, so that if somebody opened the trunk of the car, you'd just think it was a bunch of junk and you wouldn't give it a second thought.
Right.
And then she had a spare key at her next door neighbors, and she knew that she could always get out, get to the neighbors, get the key, get the stuff out of the trunk of the car, and be on her merry way.
Right.
That takes planning.
It does take
That
planning.
takes thinking ahead.
And that's what that's all about, is just thinking ahead and knowing that it gives you some level of security to have those things in place. Also, we give cell phones, emergency cell phones that they can have if they want to keep a spare in place of their own, that they can dial 911.
And I think that's important for people that are watching to know that any cell phone, even if the service is turned off, it still works, right? You can
Right.
still call 911 in an emergency.
Right.
I wonder how many lives that saves when, you know, your batter's barreling down Manatee Avenue after you and you have to call for help,
Right.
which we know has happened.
Happen all the time.
Yes. So if somebody wants to craft a safety plan, I'm watching this show and I think, oh yeah, my partner's pretty controlling, and yeah, he likes to dismantle the car. And I have to tell you, there are still some things that happen that I'm not a car person. And so if you dismantle my car,
Right.
I don't know how to fix that.
Right.
But I know how to call AAA and get somebody out to fix my car. I mean, there's things like that we talk about. But so I'm thinking that, you know, I'm listening and I'm hearing you talk about this, and I'm kind of convinced that I need some help to think this through. Where do I start? How do I do it? What do I do?
Well, the first thing is pick up the phone. Give us a call. Either make an appointment to come in, and we will sit and go through each step of the way. We will give you the tools, because that's what it really is. They're tools for you to have, and we will work with you. We're always there to help. A phone call away. You don't have to do it on your own.
Yeah, but I don't want to call. I don't want to talk to you live and in person because I'm really scared. Is there any other way I can get this information?
You can visit our website, hopefamilyservices.org.
Website again? Say it again.
hopefamilyservice.org. The safety plan is
And it's
right
up on the screen for anybody that's watching, so that it's easy for them to get that information.
And so everything that we're telling you here today is available on our website as well.
And it's in Spanish, just for anybody that's is more comfortable processing information in Spanish. We don't have our entire website in Spanish yet, but the safety plan section you'll see in English and in Espanol. And so I would encourage anybody that just wants that information. And the other thing I think is, if your friend comes to you, you call me up, or we work together, we know each other, and you tell me about all these things that are happening in your relationship.
Right.
Because as you know better than I do, as the person who helps a lot with the statistics and some of the reporting that we have to do, most of the clients come to Hope by word of mouth. I mean, the vast majority, it's a friend, an employer.
This is true, yes.
Somebody they know, their pastor, gives them our information. So you come to me and you say, look, I've got this person in my life and I'm not feeling real safe and I think I need some information. Can I help you figure out a safety plan? I mean, do you have to go to the website or call? Can anybody do this? Is it?
Certainly anybody can do it. I mean, if you have the information, if you want to pass that information on to a friend, you know, it's pretty basic things. We will give you that support along with other services. There's several ways to do it, but including our website. But yes, a friend can absolutely help you do that.
And you know, when we started, I talked about 95% of the people that are killed in Florida at the hands of their significant other never come to an organization like Hope for help.
Right.
And I am absolutely convinced, after doing this work for so many years, that it is safety plans that keep people alive. And so back to a question you asked earlier, you said about having to update them,
right.
recreate them.
Right.
I think that's important. I know our shelter folks spend a lot of time with residents, people who are actually living with us because their home is not safe. I know they spend a lot of time updating safety plans because circumstances change. You used to drive to work. Somehow you've lost your car, the batterer took it, they're, again, have control issues, and so they take the car, now you have to ride the bus because you don't want to lose your job.
Right.
You have to have a different sort of idea of how to do that safely, I would assume, than when you're driving.
You would definitely want to get some bus passes, keep those in your safety, whatever you have, your bag, or whatever it is that you keep. Bus tickets, things like that, correct.
And I would think, I don't know how practical it always is, but I would think varying your route could be, you know, something, again,
right.
It's individualized. So, okay, if you do A, what's typically the abuser's B? What's their reaction to that? How do we help you mitigate that? How do we help you figure it out?
What kind of things are included in the safety plan?
Oh,
I want to talk about
you should ask.
all of the things that...
A safety plan can sometimes be really simple, you know, a couple of things, and I've seen some very, I don't want to say complicated because that's probably not the best word, but very detailed safety plans. Some folks have, as you know, a long history with their batterer, and let's face it, who knows your pattern better than the person you're living with? I mean, if I had a fight with my husband and I left, my mother lives around the corner. Statistically speaking, if I would run to my mother's, it's not like he couldn't find me. She lives around the other side of our subdivision from where I live. So you leave and you go to your best friends. And we've had this relationship for a while, and I kind of know your best friend.
Right.
So I can find you.
Right.
So now if you come to us and we talk about safety planning and you say, well, I'm thinking of leaving, my first question to you is going to be, do you have a safe place to go that the batterer doesn't know about? Where are you going to go?
Right.
And what if you don't have a safe place? You know, there isn't a girlfriend he doesn't know about. There isn't an aunt in the next county that he wouldn't find her home. You have no other options. Where can you go?
Right, and that's part of it. And we do, Hope has an emergency safe shelter, and that would be an option.
Can you tell me a little bit about the shelter? For anybody that, because I'm scared and I don't want to go and I don't want to live with all those people and I don't want 40 iron beds in a Quonset hut with a Foot Locker like I see in the movies.
Actually, it's a very nice shelter. It right now, currently, I believe we have we serve 35 beds, and we've been at capacity for a while.
Oh, let's not talk about that.
Right.
We're busy. It's hot. People are grumpy.
But it really is inviting. It's nice when you come there. Advocates are there to help you right away. It's very homey. We have donors that are wonderful that knit blankets and quilts, and your room is just, you have a pack of things that we give you when you come in, your own blankets, sheets, pillows. We try to make it as comfortable as possible for all, not only
Can I bring
the
my
women.
kids?
Of course you can bring your kids. And it's, you know, the kids, we have a playroom for the kids and a quiet room for the adults that prefer not to bring their kids, or they don't.
Okay, that'd be me.
And a teen room, and we try to make it as comfortable as possible for the stay, because it is scary, and it's scary for the kids. But it's safe, and that's the main priority. That's the first priority, is to be safe. And it's not permanent. You know, it doesn't have to be permanent, but it is safe.
So if I have no other options, I know I always have a place to go in Manatee County if I'm a victim of domestic violence.
Correct.
And that's the Hope Shelter.
Right.
And, you know, we talked about capacity, and I said, well, let's not talk about that. But just in case there is somebody who needs shelter, we don't ever leave anybody hanging. We will find a place for you. We have been known to get motel rooms. Last summer, we were truly crazy busy, like people coming out of the woodwork. And we had a man who was in an abusive relationship call for help. And while we don't get a lot of calls from men, we do get some. This man happened to be a gay man and in a relationship, and it was really violent. And we were very afraid for his safety. And we didn't have room, but we made sure he got a motel room. He was safe. We provided him with all the same services that we would for anybody else. And when a bed opened up, we could move him into the shelter, because we have a separate area for men or large families, a room that has its own bathroom and stuff like that. So just in case somebody's worried about, well, what if I call and there's no room at the inn?
Well, I know another concern too is if they have pets. Sometimes when people have
that would
pets,
be my concern.
If people have pets, they're like, I don't want to leave my pet. What can I do? You know, what are some of those things that we can do to help them?
Oh, Laurel will probably take
Yes.
the dog home, because God knows how many animals do I have at my house. Yeah, please don't drop your stray dogs at our shelter anymore. People are confusing us with the animal shelter, and my husband doesn't want me to bring any more at home. But we have a working relationship with Honor Sanctuary, and they will take, and we have, now if any of our board members are watching, let's just pretend you didn't hear this. We have taken small animals in our shelter. We had a woman recently with a small dog, a Lhasa Apso, you know, very small dog, and it just stayed in her room. It was fine. We asked the other women that were there. Nobody had allergies. We made sure it was safe, but it was a short stay for a weekend. We knew she was going to leave to go back to where she's from. She'd only been here in Manatee County a very short time, a couple of months, and her safety plan included leaving. That was her better option that she chose, to get in her car. We helped her get gas, and off she went back to whatever state she's originally from. And we just thought for the weekend it was best to keep the dog with her. We didn't have to worry about the animal sanctuary or anything like that. We've had cats, but big dogs, you know, like my dogs are huge. I couldn't take my dogs into the shelter, so we would make arrangements with Honor Sanctuary. We have a great working relationship with them. And sometimes people can find a place. Sometimes a neighbor, a friend will dog sit temporarily, but we do know that the animals can be in danger if a victim, somebody who's calling us for help, chooses to get help. We do know that there is a direct correlation between domestic violence and animal abuse. So we encourage people to talk to us about, tell us, do you have animals?
Right.
You know, if it's really your kids' gerbils, and we're going to take them, and we'll figure it out.
I mean, we had a bunny not too long ago there.
Really, I don't think I knew that. Maybe we'll keep that a secret from the director. We did. Okay then. Well, and we do have we have had a woman with a service animal
Yes,
a woman
I saw that
who-
yesterday. Yes.
She had a companion animal. It was a service animal, and we had to make the accommodation that you would anywhere else in the world.
Right.
I mean, not only is it federal law, but it's the right thing to do.
Right.
Folks are traumatized enough leaving their home and all their things behind to come into a shelter. We are not going to separate them from their kids and from their pets if we can help it. So. They do have to be inoculated and have their shots, and we have vets in town, veterinarians who will help us get all that brought up to date. So I'm really glad you brought up pets, because that's important. So the kinds of things we talk about in safety planning: where do you go if you have to leave? Do you have a safe place? If not, how about us? How do you stay in touch? So you suddenly leave, and your mom in New York is trying to call you and she can't reach you. Do you have a system in place that you can let her know you're okay,
Right.
without maybe telling her where you are? Because if I'm the batterer, who am I calling? Again, your mother. I love her, I'm sorry, where is she? You know, we don't want to put your mom in danger either. Batterers are very crafty sometimes. So how do you stay in touch with those people? How do you keep your children safe, your pets, and work? That's when I always, have to think a bit more creatively. It's easy to say, pack up your dog, your kids, get in the car and come down to our organization. How do I keep you safe at work? And that takes a bit more creativity, I find.
Right. What about code words as well?
For instance,
if especially with our children, I think we talk about safety planning with them. If mommy's getting hurt, and if you call a friend or a relative, be in touch with them, have a code word. So dad or the abuser doesn't know what you're saying. And you can, that word can represent a lot of different things. Come and get me, call 911.
It's an emergency.
Right, it's an emergency. And I believe we do that with the families and the children, to have a common word that everybody knows.
And I'm always impressed at our staff, as you know, are just top notch.
Right.
And the children's folks in the children's program have crafted a safety plan just for kids, which I think is pretty cool, because kids, that's a very poor way to phrase it. They have a tendency to just get in the middle. They're afraid. They're afraid for their parent that's the non-offending parent. And so they get in the middle, and they sometimes inadvertently get hurt. So we have children's safety plans in English and Spanish that I'm amazed. It's got pictures. I mean, you could be really little and understand this, how to get help, code words, as you were mentioning. I just did a little checking, I'm the grammar checker in our office, just to make sure that everything is worded, very simply, and I couldn't, it was just perfect. I mean, our staff did an amazing job, and so those will be printed over the summer, and we'll have those that they can actually take with them. But again, one of the things that we have to stress, you have to be careful where you keep this stuff.
Right.
It's kind of better to have the plan in your head, not memorized really as much as just the information. Because my fear is always a batterer finds out you're planning.
That you're planning anything, right.
And then, you've just escalated the level of danger.
Right.
So.
Did we mention, I know we touched on all the records and the documents that they should bring. Another important one would be the school records, which
yes, I
sometimes
have children,
you would,
so I never think of that.
That's something to really think about in their medical records, all of those things.
Especially if you have a child with a special needs child. And we have had it's not been recent, but not when we first moved into the new shelter 4 years ago, we had a woman whose son was in a wheelchair, and he had to have special services. And that wasn't anything we had come up against before. And she had his records, and the doctor and the physical therapist, and what had to happen for his schedule. So I think that's a very good point. I'm glad you brought that up, because it wasn't something, as I said, that we had done before. So what other kinds of things can you think of that are important in terms of safety planning? An escape bag. I talked about the woman who had the the stuff in the trunk of her car.
Escape bag.
Important documents, which could be, for 100 people, what's important could be different.
True.
For the 100 people, could be 100 different sets of valuables.
Birth certificates, I think we mentioned that. If you have a debit card, if you have a credit card, if it's in both of your names, you might want to get one in your name. Medications, very important to get your medications, anything like that. Have a backup.
So it's sort of like, just
It's
project management.
It
You're
is
just
similar
thinking it
to the
through.
hurricane preparedness. What would you take if you had to evacuate
Suddenly.
and you thought that maybe you would never go back there? Just the most important things. And like you said, have contact people that you know that you'll contact, whether it be us or whether it be a friend or coworker, somebody that you can contact.
Well, I think safety planning, again, it's not brain surgery. It's not
Right.
the most difficult thing in the world, but it is helpful to have somebody. I think you can do it on your own, but I think it's helpful to have somebody like one of our folks at Hope, one of our colleagues, that they do this day in and day out, because sometimes they've heard ideas and plans that you and I may not have thought of.
Right.
And so while you can do it on your own, I would encourage anybody to go to our website, look at it, English, Spanish. We have Spanish-speaking staff members too. If English is not your first language and you need help and you're more comfortable and more fluent in Spanish than English, please come in and see our folks, because we have people who are fully bilingual. We have lots of folks who speak Spanish in our organization, and they can help you. And there's some cultural differences too. I think it's really important because it's what is saving lives.
Right.
So Susan, we're sort of winding down here. Is there anything, any final thoughts, anything that you want to impress upon somebody that may be watching that's teetering on the edge or needs more information?
Well, and especially if it's you that's going through this or someone you know, we encourage you to give us a call or go on our website. This is so important, and safety is the number one priority before anything, your safety. So whatever Hope can do to help you, we're here 24 hours a day. Don't hesitate to call.
And I would just add to that, I can't control what other people do in life. I can't control my surroundings if we have a hurricane, if we don't. But the one thing I know I do have some control over is myself. And the one thing that I've seen over all these years that seems to really catapult people to us for help is the thought of their children staying safe.
Right.
How many times have we heard, you want to abuse me, that's one thing.
But you touch my children, that's
All
another.
bets are
Right.
off. That's right. Because
Right.
I believe most parents want to be good parents. And so, if not for yourself, I would implore people to please call us, because really it's not our clients that are getting killed. I know that sounds tacky to say, but it's really the reality of the situation. And it is because we process this information, we plan with them, we help them know what their strengths are, where they might need some help. I mean, it's just an amazing thing, but we can't do any of it if they don't either call or come through the door. Our services are free, they're confidential, they're available 24 hours a day. We spend a lot of time and energy to make sure that we keep you safe, as you've heard here today. And I just want to encourage anybody that's watching, even if you're not sure, it's a phone call. It doesn't cost you a dime. Pick up the phone, call our hotline. We call it the helpline because we're just here to help. That's what we do. Our number is 755-6805, and there's somebody to talk to 24 hours a day, so please don't hesitate. I hope this information on safety planning has been helpful, and just please call if you need us. Together, we are saving lives. Thank you very much. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Laurel.